Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, let's make a Puerto Rican style baked chicken my way. So let's get into it. So for this recipe, I'm going to use some boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And of course, you can use chicken thighs with the bone in, with the skin on, whatever's your preference. And here I have about a little over 1.5 pounds. So I've transferred my chicken into this bowl just as if I were going to season my meat. And yes, I did wash my meat, and no, this is not up for debate. Cleaning the meat is a very Caribbean thing, and yes, I know the protocols and I use a lot of common sense. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to trim off the excess fat and skin from my chicken thighs, even though they are skinless. Now, if I were making an asopao de pollo, I keep all of the extra trimmings on because I want that fat to flavor the broth. But when it comes to baking my meat, I like to take off as much fat as possible. That's just a personal preference for me. If that doesn't bother you, then you can very well just keep it on. Especially if your chicken has skin on it, then if your chicken has skin on it, you don't even need to do this step. And I also wanted to note that you do not have to use chicken thighs. You can also use chicken drumsticks, chicken leg quarters, chicken wings, and probably even turkey legs. I think that would work really good. I'm not big on turkey, but I'm pretty confident that this recipe will work really good for turkey legs. All right, so now I'm going to transfer my chicken into this ceramic casserole dish. You can use any kind of mold that you'd like to cook your chicken, but just keep in mind that depending on the material of your mold, your cooking time for your chicken will vary. So like if you're using aluminum or another type of metal pan, your chicken will cook faster. And if you're using something like a ceramic mold or a glass mold, your chicken is going to take a little longer to cook. So now I'm gonna give my chicken a nice generous drizzle of some extra virgin olive oil. And then I'm going to squeeze the juice from half of a lime. You can also use a lemon, but lime's my favorite, so that's what I'm using. And no, this does not make the chicken taste limey unless you were using like 2 limes or probably even a whole lime. It may taste a little limey, but this just gives it a very light acidity. And then I'm gonna add a tablespoon of my fresh homemade sofrito, which I do have 2 videos on how I make my sofrito. And I'm just going to rub that in as evenly as possible on both sides. So now I'm gonna go in with my seasonings, and I found this Lawry's Casero total seasoning in Walmart, and I am in love with this seasoning. It's just like Goya adobo, but extra. So it has the garlic, it has the oregano, the salt, but it also has onion powder, dried cilantro, parsley. I love that. So I'm just going to sprinkle this as evenly as possible on both sides. I'm just eyeballing it, but for about 1.5 pounds, I suggest starting with about a teaspoon for both sides. No more than a teaspoon, but of course, adjust it to your liking. Now, of course, you can use any all-purpose seasoning that you like, but be sure that that all-purpose seasoning, the first ingredient or the second ingredient is garlic. It has to be a garlic-based all-purpose seasoning like adobo. So I've only added sofrito and that Laurie's casero, and it already looks so good. But of course, I'm gonna add a little extra garlic powder. You do not have to add extra garlic powder, but I love garlic, so I'm gonna add a little extra. And when it comes to seasoning Puerto Rican meat, that is like our number one seasoning. Of course, after salt. But salt doesn't count as a seasoning, okay? Salt is just to salt it. That's it. That's my opinion. But yeah, garlic is number one. And then I'm gonna add a little extra black pepper. And just like with the garlic powder, my Laurie's Casero seasoning already has oregano in it, but I am going to add a little extra oregano flakes. And then to color my chicken, I'm going to use some ground annatto. Annatto is like the main coloring agent when it comes to Puerto Rican cooking, but you can also use ground paprika if you do not have ground annatto. You can also use a little bit of Goya sazon that has annatto in it, but keep in mind that if you do use Goya sazon, it has salt. And if you're using an all-purpose seasoning with Goya sazon, you want to be mindful of how much you add of both. And I recommend no more than 1/4 of a packet of Goya sazon for all of the chicken. You don't want bright orange chicken. That'll be too much. But yeah, so after I season my chicken, I'm gonna let it marinate for about an hour, but you can put this straight in the oven right after seasoning. And I'm going to bake it uncovered at 375 degrees for about an hour. So after no more than 30 minutes, I like to baste my chicken. And the easiest way for me to do this is by grabbing some tongs and just flipping my chicken over into the juices. And after about an hour, I want to say about 55 minutes, my chicken is done and it is super tender and super delicious. And that is all for today's video. If you enjoyed watching this recipe and you're going to try it out, please let me know in the comments down below. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and to hit that notification bell because a new video will be out every week. Until next time.